It is more likely he died a natural death. Another future saint, according to Freeman, was visiting a city when he heard rumors there were plots to kill him in order to obtain relics from his body. He pretended to have suddenly become mad and had his attendants hurry him out of the town. We know now that the recounting of miracles, including those performed by relics of dead saints and by the Shroud of Turin, were the result of group hallucinations, placebo cures of sick people, or simply cooked up, sometimes literally, by the Catholic Church's clerics and advocates. People in the present day still see images of Jesus or the Virgin Mary and pieces of toast and other everyday innocuous objects. Richard Carrier is quite correct. We must not let the voices of the credulous and the ignorant and the con men, unfortunately in the majority, overwhelm our skeptical and secular voices. We are slowly creating scientific, medical, and technological miracles on our own, by our own efforts, and with our own intellects. We must continue to insist on our secular point of view and to make ourselves heard. We need to endorse the efforts of groups such as SysCop, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, and of people like Joe Nickell, James Randi, and others that examine and expose hoaxes such as the Shroud of Turin. The Catholic historian Canon Chevalier wrote these words about the Shroud of Turin, and we can expand his thoughts to the entire dark world of religious miracles and relics. He said, "The history of the Shroud constitutes a protracted violation of the two virtues of justice and truth." I hope and trust that the secular community will always be on the side of justice and of truth and mount a strong resistance to the voices of irrationality and superstition. We are engaged in a war we must win for the sake of the generations who come after us, and in honor of those early freethinkers and doubters who died for the truth they saw clearly and who are not afraid to speak it to the world. Thank you for your attention. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that is the sad story of the Shroud. And they were still talking about it on CNN.
It's still
When they were
tours.
doing the thing of the footprints of Jesus and he didn't disappear without leaving a trace. They had a special around Easter time.
Yeah, and it's still tours, right? They still have the Shroud.
Once in a while, yeah,
Yeah.
occasionally.
It's shocking that Jim's doctor actually felt about it.
Isn't that horrible?
I would have gone to another doctor immediately.
Well, he's really very good. I mean, I think he saved Jim's life when he had his original
Yeah.
heart attack. I mean, he was really excellent.
And he's
And,
put me on a balanced
yeah,
regime, and it seems to be working.
and he hesitated for hours. He was like trying to clear the,
Clear
Jim's,
the area.
yeah,
the
Jim's area.
vessels,
Yeah. And the other doctors were irritated with him. That's how cautious and careful he is before he goes to surgery. They're going, oh, Graham will do this all night if you let him. So he's really an excellent doctor. Really
And we
one of
gotta
the
be
best.
careful not to assume just because someone's brilliant in one area,
That they'll
that
be.
they're brilliant in all areas.
Yeah.
Compartmentalization.
Like
Who's
Right,
been,
right.
the
That's a
guy
very
running
good
for
list.
president now,
Oh, that doctor.
Carson,
from
Ben
Detroit.
Carson.
Oh my God, he's
Yeah.
crazy as a
Brilliant neurosurgeon, first to separate, what,
Conjoined twins.
Conjoined
joint at
twins.
the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Successful, brilliant guy in neurosurgery.
Yes.
Still, I think he thinks they're 6,000 years old.
He's
Believes in
very-
creationism,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Horrible.
once I had asked a psychiatrist, I said, I heard that there's a thin line between genius and insanity. Haven't we all heard that?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I asked her, I said, so if I'm a genius, should I worry that if I learn just one more thing,
Mhm.
that I'm going to believe it's good and right to climb a clock tower and start picking off my fellow man? And her reply, which was very sensible to me, was that the issue with being a genius is you've committed all of your resources to one area, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But then you can't match your socks, and your hairdo looks like Einstein. So you have to give something up to be brilliant in that area. So the fact that your doctor, who is obviously brilliant, you being a living testimony,
Oh, yeah.
also has given something up.
Yeah.
That's, I guess,
Yeah.
the whole
He-
bottom line
he-
for me.
Believes it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very
It's
strange.
amazing how much
Yeah.
ridiculous stuff that
well, Newton.
And he believes in
Newton
an
was-
afterlife too.
Yeah, he believes in an afterlife. So Newton was, was very religious,
Yeah.
and wrote kind of insane things toward the end of his life as he got older. So, what can you do? Einstein remained very rational.
Yeah, I still like geniuses.
I do
But
too.
you gotta stick to their area of expertise.
Well, see,
and I don't
that's
want
it.
Ben to be our
We
president.
all have certain areas what we're
Mhm.
good at, and we maybe shouldn't be, paid attention to in the others.
Yeah, shooting our
I'm a
mouths
movie
off about
star.
other stuff, yeah.
Because I'm a movie star or a great singer doesn't mean I know about world politics.
Isn't that
That's right.
horrible?
Oh, that's terrible.
So did the Protestants completely abandon all forms of this type of relics and claims to
Just about, yeah.
miracles? Since
Yeah.
they did not have like any kind of resurrection miracles or anything like that?
Well, they believe in the resurrection, yes.
No,
God's,
but
Jesus is resurrected.
subsequent, they didn't.
No,
They have healers, they have modern day healing rituals.
not the
right?
Lutherans very much.
But not the Lutherans,
No,
these
not very
those are the
much.
evangelicals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
They really abandoned a lot of those things. The Luther, that's a main reason that he abandoned the Catholic Church, because he couldn't stand the selling of indulgences, that people,
Yes,
the
it's
selling
in
of
the
relics.
book, it's in the book, it's in the word, it's contemplation,
Yeah,
it's reflection,
So the
and
miracles.
don't be distracted by pictures and so
Yeah.
forth, relics.
It didn't matter anymore, the miracles didn't matter if it was gonna be in the word
mhm.
of Bible, you didn't need a miracle then to
They
prove
took it more to a more introverted stand,
Mhm.
or stance.
Yeah,
Whereas you were, like you and the Word and the Spirit.
and you look at the Old Testament where Moses, asked God in the desert, why would the Pharaoh believe me when I come to him and say, let my people go? And God said, well, here's some magic. You show him that your staff will turn into a snake, and they're
Right.
going to believe you. So you needed a miracle at that time
Mhm.
to prove that you were
Mhm.
a deity.
Yes,
You couldn't
Yes.
just go in and say, I'm a deity.
yeah.
And that damn atheist Pharaoh, what the hell?
Well, no, he also believed in magic. He had magicians and whatnot.
Mhm.
So it was a competing magic. They were
Mhm.
trying to outdo each other.
But he wasn't convinced, which meant that
Yeah.
God intended to present evidence.
Yeah.
He did present evidence, but it wasn't strong enough to convince because the omnipotent God couldn't produce evidence strong
Isn't
enough to
that
convince.
strange?
And
What happened?
so either he didn't want him to be convinced, or he wasn't able to convince him. So either he's lying to us, or he's weak.
Dude, that's
Isn't
the
that
old,
wonderful?
that's Epicurus's thing.
Mhm.
Either he's too weak or he's evil.
He sounds
One
like
or
a
the
good
other.
guy, this Epicurus fellow. He sounds smart.
Well, he was wonderful.
So one of the things that I followed it. So we're of course starting out being who we are. We see the evidence and the science and this logical progression towards conclusion as a virtue. And so we're kind of already know things like these are frauds. And we have evidence that is strong to reinforce our belief in that. But that kind of procedure doesn't work on those who believe lack of evidence is a virtue.
Right. Yeah,
So
Yeah.
all we're really doing is verbalizing, again, why we believe what we believe
yeah.
without
Because,
convincing those who
they
don't.
think it's best to have faith. And you
Have
don't
faith,
need
yes,
evidence, and you're
faith,
more
faith,
blessed.
Faith, you have to have faith.
Yeah, and who's to say that the point is to win the argument? I mean, you don't have to convince them.
Hmm.
You might have to convince yourself. You might have to convince me, but we're not here to become just better debaters.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think we're, in my mind, everyone has their own opinion, is to find the truth. If someone says, I saw God last night, or I saw Elvis Presley last night, then I want to know, well, should I believe him? Right?
Yeah.
Should I believe that this claim to fact, and that's what's so nice about the miracles, because at least they're claiming a fact,
mhm,
and that can be tested.
mhm,
Most of the time it can be tested. Otherwise, to say that, well, God created the universe, that is much harder to attest,
Mhm.
right? Than to say, you know, the Shroud of Turin is
Is a
really
fake.
the burial.
And
Yeah.
we've, you know,
Right, so
we've
that's why
exposed it to.
I like this topic, you know, because it is testable, these
Mhm.
claims can
Mhm.
be tested.
Even though tests and evidence, with notwithstanding,
They never
with God all
convince anybody
things
it's
are
religious.
possible.
Yeah,
So what, he can fake tests, he can bury fossils, he
Yeah.
can do any of
yeah,
this stuff.
yeah, I love that
Right,
one.
you can plant ideas in your mind and,
But for you and me, you know, we're not gonna be convinced, you know. You
Right.
know, maybe we're the devil, and that's why we won't be convinced, but.
which is why I bring to the point that the method of arguing to a conclusion is that it is, I believe, the hope of everyone in this room that saner minds will prevail.
Yeah,
That entire groups of people thinking flying the airplane to the building being a great thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a saner mind prevailing.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right.
so I wish that you could just say, here's all the scientific tests, and they'll say,
wouldn't that be great?
that guy could have been lying, and you know, that's true, he could have been
Mhm.
lying. He really could have.
Well,
They
see,
took all
they
his
don't wanna
samples at
believe
the
that,
end.
because again, you have this, then there's no justice ever,
Yeah,
you know, and there's so many injustices in the world, and of course, then you have to face death. There's no afterlife.
yeah.
That's
no fun.
awful, I mean, you know,
And what about the conspiracy theorists? Isn't that kind of a form of miracle claim?
sure.
When people say that the government did this.
But again, they say it's scientific, they show their
Well,
so-called
that's
proof.
that's what I'm getting at, you know, is that you could make this claim and you could say it's a miracle because everybody has been fooled by it except a few of us. And here's the explanation of
Mhm.
all the, you know, they try to put it in a scientific basis, just like with the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah,
And able to say that somehow miraculously, all of these things lined up so that it worked. The conspiracy succeeded, the building was brought down and nobody knew about it. So if we look at conspiracy theories from the point of view of miracle claims, it also falls apart. It also
Yes.
says, this is just another pseudoscience, it's another fallacy that is of religious nature.
well, we were at an atheist meeting, and I won't mention any names, but someone that believes in the 9/11 conspiracy.
Right.
Yeah, I know,
Wow.
had a video, and Dimitri, our son, was visiting at the time, so the guy gave us, of course, a copy, he gave everybody a copy, and our son, he likes to work out things for himself, so he said, well, let's watch it. I said, oh, for God's sake, I don't wanna watch this, and he said, let's watch it, and it was such a pile of junk, all the proof that they were offering that it was a conspiracy,
You're part of it. I can tell, you're part of it.
You're trying to hide it.
Yeah,
On
exactly,
film.
yeah, and it was so ridiculous.
Well, and you know how pervasive it is, because you mentioned the atheist group, I went to the atheist convention, it's the same thing, is that I spoke to a speaker afterwards and her partner, and they said, there are unanswered questions around 9/11. And I
Was
said,
this the latest?
This was the national convention,
Oh.
and I said, what do you mean there's unanswered questions? This has been studied so well, but she said, but no, the World Trade 7, the number 7 building, World Trade 7 could not have fallen as a result of the other buildings falling. And that was their claim to conspiracy. There's no way that the hotel,
Is
which
there
was
a
the Marriott.
grassy knoll near that building?
That's the grassy knoll
Yeah,
too.
it's like, why, they're clinging to that as if to say, aha, everything is implicated.
Yeah,
Just like with the shroud,
Yeah.
oh, we got this shred of doubt.
yeah,
You see, it's true,
yeah.
because it might be from the Middle East.
I didn't have time to watch, what was going on at what's the matter, honey? You
No,
check it?
nothing, I'm
Okay.
just-
I didn't have time to watch the CNN thing, but they did a lot of things with microscopes and what have you, and scientific things. And I'm sure that they left everything up to, what am I trying to say?
Your
Doubt.
Cast.
imagination.
Yeah,
Your imagination, yeah. And it's all, and very interesting that the conspiracy series, there always points to the government. What part of the government? What
You
branch of
were
the
in
government?
it.
Republicans.
See, what? What are you talking?
Sometimes
Which part of the government is
I
doing
think
it?
sometimes
Which
it's the
department is working on
CIA,
it?
sometimes it's,
There's never an answer.
Well, no, they have their own little stories, right?
Yeah.
If they're Republican, then
Mhm.
they say it's the Democrat.
Well, so Democrat controlled some of the
That they're
Yeah.
keeping it secret, and if
Obama
they're,
doesn't want you to know that
you
stuff.
know, extreme liberal, then they're gonna blame the Republicans.
Republican conservative.
And I'll tell you a couple more stories about that.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
let's,
Just terrible stuff.
Yeah.
A couple of years back, they had a documentary, and I guess it was some guy had determined that he found Jesus' burial
oh, yeah.
tomb. Remember?
I remember
and the thing
that
that
one.
really
Oh,
struck
yes.
me
With
as,
his family,
as strong, among all the other things that were kind of messed up about it,
his whole
was
family.
he found a tomb, and one of them said Jesus on it, and one said Mary on it.
Yeah,
And he said, let's take some of that dust and look for some DNA.
yeah,
And so they did. They found some mitochondrial DNA, and what they found was that the two individuals side by side were not related. That proved it. So they're saying a lack of information
yeah,
proved
prove the fact.
your. I mean, among all the
Yeah,
other bad moves the
That's
guy
what's
made,
terrifying.
you know, and people are, they weren't supposed to be related. They're supposed to be friends or married or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's crazy.
plus, and there's much lesser miracles. This is one that's running through the Christian environment right now. The divine brake pedal intervention.
What's that?
What is
I
that?
have heard it told several times by various independent people.
Okay, never
that
heard
they'd
of
be
this.
driving down the street, and this person was coming up to the end of the driveway, and they weren't going to stop. Thank God, Jesus, press that brake pedal, because that idiot wasn't going to stop. And so I'm like, wow, how did you know Jesus? Because, there's like 1 million driveways that people approach every
Yeah, every
day,
day.
every day.
Every minute,
And
practically.
they stop without, I'm assuming without intervention, but how can I prove that?
See, you
I don't
can't
know.
prove it.
So, but it's like, what drew that conclusion? So what happens is, in events in our lives, we all just look at it and say this thing happened or whatever, but they add a layer of meaning, a layer of fitting a puzzle piece and to once again reinforce kind of the delusion as far as I'm concerned. So that's just the difference, is that they add meaning to events. We look at them and say, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It happened, maybe she didn't stop at the end, or her brake fluid went out or something. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say Satan kept her pedal from hitting, So these miracles, they're not the major Turan things.
Well, yeah.
It's the every single day. I went to a church service, and a lady got up there and lectured, and she said, I had a CAT scan, and it showed cancer in all my lymph nodes.
Oh, right.
And then she said, so I went to do a biopsy, and they couldn't find the cells. So I went to a prayer group, and then I went back to the doctor, and he said, you're cancer-free. So now the person I'm sitting next to, I go, do you know you can't diagnose cancer with a CAT scan? You can diagnose inflammation. The definitive diagnostic is,
It's usually a biopsy.
it's the biopsy, which came back, what? Negative. So now she's formed a prayer group to get people through cancer and diabetes, and she's got actual real sick people coming to her group,
Oh, boy.
and she's solving their problems, supposedly.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
it was just so labor. Once again, she had just assigned meanings and whatever,
Well, I think we like to do that. I think it's like I think it's a byproduct, like they say,
Of an evolution.
of our evolutionary things. It was survival, but now it's like kind of gone amok, and I don't think we can stop doing it. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. I was telling Norm about a film noir class that I just completed, but I was telling a lady who was performing a service for me, and I was telling her the odd coincidence, the fact that Jim had gone to bed, I was watching this really lousy movie on Turner Classic Movies that I watched maybe 5 times a year, that I stayed with it to the end even though it was an awful film. Then here are all the coincidences. Then they announced the class. Then I looked it up. Then I started taking the class. I was so happy. And she said to me, oh, it was meant to be that way. That everything fell out that way. I realized, that's how she was taking it. Whereas I was like amused by all the coincidences.
Yeah, but who meant it to be that way?
Yeah, who was?
Well, see, that she was doing New Age. She was doing New Age,
Well,
so it was
that's
kind
fine.
of
But
And I said, well, either
yeah.
it was meant to be that way. I said it was a hell of a lucky coincidence, and I was laughing, and she was like, she had her feelings hurt a little bit. So we just dropped the topic, and
But
she
there
went
is a
on.
lot of that talk. The universe is telling me something.
Mm.
The universe wants me
Oh, yeah.
to, and it's no different than any other.
Amy Schumer has a skit about that. It's fun.
That is so
I see
good.
That was hilarious with Bill Nye.
Yeah.
That, wasn't that
Funny.
wonderful? That was so funny, and that's what people do all the time now.
Yeah.
They, I didn't get that dress when it was on sale, and they feel bad. I mean, because they go back and it's gone, and they go, that means I wasn't meant to have it. Or I dropped that bracelet when I was swimming. Oh, that means that I was ready to let go of that period of my life that belonged to the bracelet. And I'm going like, and it goes on and
It's
on.
endless. It's absolutely endless.
So could I bounce
I
back
hate
to,
that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
if I could play devil's advocate, only I don't think I can do that here, I'll play Jehovah's advocate. Because only devil's advocate plays with you Satan worshippers. First of all, I love the line, testimony whose strength is so strong that for it not to be true, it would be miraculous.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, then it was a miracle either way.
Hume was really great.
That was well written. But
What
the
am I?
statement that God created a perfect universe that needs to be changed by miracles
Yeah.
was, to me, that argument doesn't quite do it for me, because I guess I read a book called The Logic of Failure, where it is that we as humans make mistakes when we make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It does studies on Chernobyl or public policy, and it just does a lot of stuff like that. And you find out our limitations in thinking. And one of them is that we seem to think statically. Like he
Okay.
created something and that's it.
Okay.
And
Oh, I see. What you mean
and
is creation
whereas,
could be dynamic.
like I made some bread dough and later I gotta go back and intervene by pounding it down
Yeah.
or something, right? I mean,
Right.
so the concept, that's the concept of static perfection
Uh-huh.
versus perfection as a process.
Yeah.
And that's why in math courses, math 2 + 2 is 4, we all get that.
Right.
Then they throw letters in there, and they're talking about general principles, A + B = C, and most of us get that. But where does it really kick you in the teeth? It's when you hit calculus. So calculus is saying A is this at time this, when C is at that, and there's always a constant change going on in that world. And then you come up with laws like F
The
equals
atomic
MA.
world also, the subatomic world.
Yeah.
There's continuous change. It's not static at all.
And it becomes harder and harder for us to get that. And when we say that someone's a rocket scientist, here you got this equation, F equals MA. The reason they call it rocket science, and this is so rare for people to grasp, is because F equals MA becomes DF dx equals dm dA. All three are changing constantly. We can't deal with that. So our thoughts to say static versus as a process, which in my opinion, with age and wisdom, we less often look at events and start looking at process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, your husband just had a fight, horrible.
Mhm.
No. All right, so he showed you where boundaries were. When you get older and you kind of say, okay, this isn't the end of the game.
Yeah.
This was a moment, this was
Yeah.
an event. So to say that God created a perfect universe is a static implication, like it didn't need intervention. In the logic of failure, they're saying the systems that work are the ones where you make your best guess and make corrections later.
But he's
Like
supposed to be.
Obamacare is not perfect.
But he's supposed to
We
be
don't-
all, but your creator though, you see, I mean, I'm not gonna argue, I mean, I think that it can go either way, but
Right.
my thinking is that since he's omnipotent and can see everything also,
Yeah.
I mean, he's like all seeing, that why wouldn't
he
he
intervenes.
anticipate all this and do it in a flash?
Yeah, then why wouldn't he anticipate that a correction will happen at this time?
It's another
Right.
thing, you know, it just,
I
it
mean-
doesn't make any sense.
You know, you're right. I
Norm,
mean,
you were gonna say something.
Well, I would, if I was the Christian answering you, I would say, no, God does intervene. He does keep the universe dynamic based on our prayer. That is, we pray and he wants us to ask him for things, just like a parent wants a child to ask for things.
That's the thing.
That it isn't static, that he's able to intervene if we ask with faith. I know
and
it's
yet he
stupid.
knows what you're gonna ask.
Yeah,
Well,
see, this is a
no, but
problem.
they have an answer for that.
Yeah, I
I'm not
know.
I'm not trying to discount what you're
No,
saying.
you're right.
But they would come back and say,
You're being Jehovah's Advocate again.
you have free will, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
according to some
Yeah.
Protestants, you have the free will to do bad. If you want, God isn't going to make you obey him.
But he knows what you're gonna pick anyhow.
Yeah, but he knows what you're gonna pick anyhow, but you don't know
Yeah.
what you're gonna pick anyhow, see? So it's you that have to make the decision, right, at least in your mind.
Plantagenet's
And then-
written a whole work, and I mean, you know, it's like well regarded in the world of Protestant theology that, you know, free will is so important, you know, that we have to be free to choose, blah, blah, blah.
Or we're never guilty.
Exactly, or we're never like responsible.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, I mean, you know, it's like so reasoned out, and you know, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. But it makes sense to other Christians, you
But
know.
just like prayer, I know you had mentioned prayer. God knows what's best for you.
Yeah,
He wants what's best for you. You say a prayer, it either is in alignment with what's best for you, and he'll
Yeah.
say yes. It's not, and he
Yeah.
won't do it because it's not in best interest
and
of
you won't know it till later when you get to have it.
Whether he gives it to you or not,
Yeah,
why would he ever grant a prayer, like, let me win the lottery?
yeah.
Never does that, you know?
If he'd let me win the lottery, I would believe him.
No, you wouldn't.
Like,
No, you wouldn't.
No, you won't.
remember the Janis Joplin song? Oh Lord, send me a Mercedes Benz.
Oh, yeah.
Back
That's
to the
terrific.
miracles though, you know, I think that all they have to do, the people that claim these miracles, is just to cast a little bit of doubt. I think maybe Jim said this too, is that
Yeah.
they just have to get you to think, well, maybe it was, you know.
That's like the
And
conspiracy.
they don't have to win the argument
Yeah.
and prove that it was.
No.
But just like casting this idea that maybe there is a God.
Yeah.
You can cast the idea, well, maybe that is Jesus on my toast.
So maybe I should, you know, like, be careful because I could, maybe there is a hell.
So while you're spending all this time fighting with them, you know, us atheists or secularists saying, no, 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 they're getting all of the attention, they're getting
Yes.
all of the energy
Yeah,
to spend time on it.
yeah,
And effectively, you know, they're shifting the debate into, well, maybe there is.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the shroud.
yeah.
You know, there is a Jesus because there's a shroud. There must have been a Jesus.
Well, see, they're so desperate to
That's
find.
important.
That's why that CNN, that whole special was, you know, he left his footprint. There's traces.
Yeah,
He didn't just vanish, you know.
yeah. The
And
Da
of course,
Vinci-
there's nothing.
the Da Vinci Code too. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of distraction.
Yeah.
We don't really have to talk about whether Jesus exists. We can talk about the Da Vinci Code instead, or
Exactly.
the Shroud, or the relics. The Church of the Little Flower, they had some relics on display. Probably they do that every year of saints and whatnot. And I find the whole thing distasteful.
Oh,
I wouldn't want to be in the same room if someone said, well, in that box there's somebody's bones. I just wouldn't want to be around that.
Well, yeah, we have this modern sensibility, but
Yeah.
in those days, it really wasn't that.
To be around the
Yeah,
dead.
I mean, after a while, because, you know, they started not to believe in those, and even the church started to be embarrassed. And they started to, like, you know, pack off the saints to museums, you know, that they had embalmed, or just put them in the basement somewhere. But Dimitri, again, our son said that, you know, when he was in Italy, he did see, you know, some saints' bodies that were still there in, outlying areas.
Oh, I've seen them.
Churches, yeah.
Little
I never
altar.
did because I was only in urban areas when I was in Italy.
I saw like a crystal case with a skull of a nun who was a saint,
See, yeah.
covered in spider webs. I mean,
Oh my
it was-
God.
And it's right in the
Yeah.
top center of the altar. You just walk up and go, don't they have a vacuum cleaner? But I'm sure you'd have to pray. You'd have to have a holy vacuum cleaner or something.
Oh, you have to.
Maybe
oh,
to
One
touch
that would
it.
not suck the
Yeah.
bones, just the webs.
Well, she was a virgin.
Yeah,
Well,
that's it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear.
It was a hymen webs.
Oh my God, it's so horrible. Just think about, I mean,
That was
there's a wonderful illustrated book. I have it, I can't remember the name now, but it's in my lecture on the upcoming thing about relics and things. And it's just fabulous. It shows, how, tons, hundreds of skulls in some of the churches, like these big
Yeah,
centerpieces.
I wish we could bring that sometime.
Yeah, we should get it. I have it at the library. I don't own it. And, it's the embalmed saints, where they had used wax and everything. And it's so creepy to the modern sensibility.
Mhm.
I mean, I just going through it, how did you feel about it,
Oh,
Jim?
it's terrible. You walk into a building and there's just floor to ceiling bones and skulls behind chicken wire. To keep them from falling down.
And you
They put so
were
many
there in
things
person.
there.
No, I was only in urban areas in Italy, and we were even down in the catacombs, we didn't see anything like that. But this book has taken pictures from all over, like Italy, France, Germany, this more like the southern part of Germany and everything, and it's quite incredible. And so creepy to the modern people. And they said it by about the 18th century when visitors were coming from like England and places like that, and they were getting creeped out. That they started to get embarrassed because they thought it was just some savage. I mean, they were horrified when they
Aren't
saw
there a
these
lot of
things.
popes in St. Peter's Basilica?
Yeah, but I think they're buried, aren't they?
They're covered. I didn't see
Yeah,
any,
I
but
didn't see
saw
any either
their
when we were there.
coffins.
Yeah, they're coffins, but they're not out on display. These were like, they were painted and then they would have
Yeah.
wigs on them and
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of times sometimes they wouldn't do the face.
Mm.
So you have all these jewels and thing, and then you have this like kind of grinning skull, and it's so horrible.
So do you think that over the next century, this is gonna fall by the wayside and these things are gonna be discarded?
Well, they have already. They've discarded a
They've
lot of them.
begun to.
You don't see those in the urban areas.
The
in
church
Italy.
won't wanna continue that kind
No.
of disgust.
No, you just see them in the outlying areas, and they're disappearing more and more, and they're not upkeeping them either.
That's-
Need a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're just not keeping them up. I think that, people just don't wanna give them up in the rural areas, but they will.
Just get a shoebox and put it down. I think, what you said, put it in the basement, that'd be fine.
They did,
Trust me,
they
we
did,
got
they
it
have done, a lot
downstairs.
of them are just moldering in basements, of the churches and museums.
One of the hardest things to take in contemporary times for me is, in our contemporary times and contemporary awareness, is like the 9/11 thing, or a building, some other building, an earthquake. Mary had it in her lecture. The building collapses, 4 people, it's a miracle.
Oh, I hate that.
It's a miracle, 4 people came out.
Every natural disaster.
There's a flood, the house gets washed away. Oh my goodness, the baby was saved in her crib. What a miracle. God is gracious, God is good, except for one minor thing. The people who perished in that would not agree with you.
Well, they can't tell the story yet. I'm a miracle myself. My dad was in the Korean War, but he was stationed at Mount Fuji in Japan. I don't know if I told you this.
No.
And just before his, what do they call 500 troops? All at one?
Was it what?
A
Battalion?
division or some battalion?
Yeah, battalion.
So his battalion was shipping out to Korea, but his dad fell ill. So 499 of them shipped out, and he went back to Minnesota to visit him. And then when he was done visiting them, he goes back to Japan just to join another battalion, and they're shipping out to Korea, but they decided since he was new to the battalion, he wouldn't go with them.
Oh my God, how weird.
And then he came back and had us 8 kids, which means that the universe, God, had
That's what
a
people would
greater
say.
purpose for him.
That's
And
what
I'm
they
going,
would
yeah,
say.
but you know, the other guys, they're not here to tell the story.
They got killed?
You know, well, I don't know. You don't really know where the hell.
Some of them did,
But the
I'm
guys
sure.
who survived are the guys who tell the story.
Yeah, who get to tell the
And
story.
the guys that are dead, see, they don't get to tell a story, so you don't hear the story. I guess God didn't have a purpose for me.
Yeah.
Whoever says that.
Or he had
Oh,
a purpose to take me into heaven and have me die young.
Oh,
There's
I mean-
always an answer.
Much better place.
Yeah, yeah, which is a better place, which nobody, if you've noticed, is any hurry to get to that better place.
Oh, no, yeah.
I very seldom have I, I think I've heard one story where somebody told me that her grandmother was not unhappy when the grandfather died because she knew he was in heaven and she was planning to join him soon. And she said that she had never seen faith like that. And that lady probably had it like that, but how many do? I don't think very many people do.
They're always calling up the doctors and getting the best care they can possibly
Well,
get.
something funny on Facebook was like, what did people, oh yeah, people always say, when they've been in an accident, take me to the nearest church. They never do it, take me to the
that is
hospital.
really good.
That was really good on
I
Facebook.
like that.
Yeah.
Bring me
So-
to the science building.
Was your dad a religious man?
Well, I would say he was profoundly religious, being a member of the Sanctified Brethren in the Lutheran in Minnesota, but he came and married my mom and converted to Catholic, so Catholicism, so I'm not really sure just how strong. I was talking to a guy just yesterday who was saying, yeah, I was this, and then I moved here, and now
Yeah,
my grandma was in this church, and I went there, and then I came here, and my wife was in this church, and I went.
Americans
How much-
change.
Yeah.
You never tell
Yeah.
me that you converted because of their doctrine and
Yeah.
what
No.
they're
No.
saying. It's just
No.
because I knew a guy.
Or you grew up in it.
Or you
Or
got
you grew up.
You grew up in it, and your family's, you're comfortable, your whole family's comfortable. They would be really mad if you changed.
Well, I like the songs they have over there. They have a good.
Oh yeah, that's always
Yeah.
good too. Yeah, a great show.
Oh, right.
single
yeah.
women.
Single women.
Hey, believe me, those
Or-
church-going girls, you know where they were last night. So,
Yeah.
I won't tell you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't mean a nice girl. No, you're not.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, not anymore.
It was a fascinating lecture, though. I mean,
Oh God.
and it just once again reinforces the collective insanity of humanity.
Well, I never thought I would do the Shroud. I never thought I would do Relics, and I've done the Shroud, I've done Relics, and I've done other miracles like with the toast and everything. I find myself continuously being drawn back to those issues.
So should
Crazy thing.
atheists spend time ridiculing these things and exposing these things, or do you think we should just ignore it because it's just so trivial and we don't want to give it any attention at all?
Well, I mean, there's all these people that, in Syscop. There's Nickel and there's James Randi and Benjamin Radford, and they still write. I mean, I get the Skeptical Inquirer, and, they expose these things all the time. They've written a lot of books,
But that's
Nickel
what I'm
and
asking, is that a
Radford,
good strategy?
Well, people read them, so how do you, I mean, I don't know. Is it just preaching, to the choir? Just preaching to us, or do other people read them? They might strike a chord of skepticism. They might not become atheists, but they might stop believing in really silly things.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Even atheists spend more time paying attention to religion than religious people.
Well, yeah, that's because, they feel so oppressed by it. Religious people are going there to have an ice cream social or, to be with friends and yak it up.
But isn't that part of the point you're making, is we're giving it the attention? I mean, I just heard this story about King David, I think yesterday. I knew he did the Bathsheba thing, he wanted to hit that, he had the guy
Yeah.
killed, he tried, you know what I mean?
Wasn't it
Which
awful?
is just like the most evil kind of thing you'd expect from the greatest
Jewish guy.
King David.
Yeah.
But then I heard the other story, he had some political aspirations and the king told him he had to perform a task.
Saul, yeah, trying to get rid of him.
Some of
so
these
what was the
figures probably
To
didn't
kill
exist.
Goliath. Wasn't to kill.
No, he told him that in order to achieve whatever this aspiration was, he had to go out and come back with 100 foreskins.
Oh, that's right, the
from
foreskins.
Philistines.
The Philistines, yeah.
And think of how easy it is to take a foreskin from a guy who's not willing. So he had to kill him.
Yeah.
And you'd
course.
say, okay, but the king said to do it, maybe he obeyed. But he didn't kill 100 and take 100 foreskins. He decided to take 200 and that's what he came. So of his own volition, he
Oh, I
said, "I
think
only
I
really
read
have
that
to kill
story.
100. I'm going to kill 2." This
Yeah.
guy was a mass murderer,
Yeah.
pathetic, horrible.
But you
human
know
being.
what?
Overachiever.
Some of these characters, it's an upcoming lecture in 2018, so I'm not there to study it properly yet.
Yeah.
But some of these characters either did not exist or existed in very different form than we know. There's
It's a
certainly
folktale.
these great kingdoms, there were not these great kingdoms.
But whether they existed or not, these guys are held up as the example.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Of the greatest men, like
Yeah.
Abraham gonna stab and set his kid on fire,
Yeah.
like Lot
Yeah.
gonna throw his virgin daughters to a rape gang, like
That was weird. That was really weird.
Moses killing 3,000 of his
Yeah.
own people, hiring
Yeah.
mercenaries, like obviously David, who was supposed to be the good guy.
Yeah.
What was the story of Isaiah walks up to a woman and she's cooking a meal and
I don't even know that one.
and he says, "I'm hungry, give me the food," and she goes, "This is the last food I have, me and my son, we're gonna eat this and then walk off into the desert and die." And he says, "Well, give it to me anyway." And he eats their last supper.
Oh, my God.
Another Last
And you go,
Supper.
what a dick!
Wow.
Over and over.
Yeah, and he was also held
You know,
up.
Well, I think that the stories are reflecting the era
The era, the
yeah,
ethos of that
that
time.
they were written in or just prior
Yeah,
to when
but
they
they're
were
the good
written.
guys. Come on. The only guy good enough to save from sodomy anymore. The only holy enough man.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
what
got
the hell were
his
these
daughter.
other guys do?
Yeah,
That was worse than throwing your daughters to a rape gang, for God's sake.
that was very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange.
Very strange.
I mean, all these heroes, and you go through them, and you say, and I was at a party at once, all Christians, and I'm saying, you know, most Christians don't know the Bible. Like, did you know that Moses killed 3,000 people? And they're going, no, he didn't. Look,
I
it's the
didn't.
next sentence after the happy story, okay? It's
Were
the
they
next sentence.
were they Catholics? Because a lot of Catholics are not brought up reading the
They
Bible.
were
The
dancing.
Protestants usually read the
They were
Bible.
Kensington Church members mostly.
I don't even
maybe
know what
some-
that is.
Yeah, they got good music program.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's it. And now they have this prosperity gospel. This
Mhm.
you know. And,
Yeah.
yeah, where people, think that they're either going to get money or feel better, and they've dropped a lot of the old stuff. They really
Yeah.
have. It's amazing.
I just keep hearing this stuff though, and it just, like, you're deeply, you've studied all this stuff.
Well, not
Every
as
time it
deeply
hits
as I
me,
should.
and this is part of the thing, is we spend most of our attention, I actually hear this thing about David and I go, see, and I'll remember that, and I'll,
It's good.
but that's me once again, as you pointed out, turning my attention to them,
Yeah.
to that world, to that illusory world.
But you can debate better that way.
Yeah, I
You mean,
I was on a cruise ship and some guy just threw a scripture at me.
literally?
It really did. I was
Did
at,
he get?
no, he quoted. We're walking to the dinner and I say, Chris, we don't have to eat alone. Let's eat with somebody else. But
I
can we
remember
ask
you
them
said
for a
that, yeah.
liberal table? And we laugh.
Yeah.
And then they sit us down, and next thing I know, this preacher's saying, I want you to consider Scripture, blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah,
and I want
remember
you to
that.
consider this
Yeah,
Scripture.
you said that, yeah.
Yeah.
What I
And
wanted
then
to
he
ask
throws
you.
another one back at me. I throw another one back.
Yeah, I remember you told us that.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you coming out of that was, what kind of cruise was that?
Just an Alaska cruise. People from all over the world jump on this boat.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a scientific cruise or a
Christian
spiritual.
cruise.
No, I wouldn't think it was a scientific
I
cruise.
just happened to be at the preacher's table with
Wow.
Oh, out
his
of the
chronically
turbulence,
depressed
yeah.
wife who, they were
I
trying to heal
believe
her.
that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he talked to me for a good hour and a half after everyone
Oh my
left
goodness.
the table, and he's still going at me, and I'm still like, my girl's sitting over here, and she's trying to ignore us. Even his depressed wife left the table. It's like,
I bet
You're
she
so
depresses her.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
There's no
hearing
doubt.
that stuff all the time?
he needed to win that. because
Breakfast, dinner, and
otherwise-
lunch.
Well,
Breakfast,
yeah,
lunch,
he
and
needed to
dinner.
win because, he was defending the faith. He was
Yeah,
defending
publicly.
Jesus.
Yeah, he
His
was
his
on.
life's choice, his whole.
And don't
Yeah.
be surprised if they got off the boat after the end of the voyage and there had been some rough seas or something during the voyage. Well, that was a miracle that we got back here.
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
Praise the Lord.
Well, the miracle was we were trying to choose between the boat and the plane for the fjord, We took the boat, but a week later that same plane crashed into the cliff and everyone died.
God did it.
I had a purpose greater than, okay.
See,
Dying
yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
oh yeah.
God has a purpose for you.
Mhm.
You gotta fight it and do it.
And it was that you
Yeah.
needed
There's
that
countless-
sign
there's
behind
countless
you,
stories
and
like
I
that.
had to be here for that
Yes.
sign, 'cause
It's
There's countless
continuous.
stories like that.
I
People
always
are
see
gonna get
those
on a
things
train,
as a
they don't
great
get on the train.
coincidence.
They don't go here, they
Yeah,
don't
but
go
people
there.
seem.
Honestly, I can't.
You're
I always
chosen.
see them as just a coincidence.
Yeah, but when we talk about miracles, people seem to create their own miracle story
Yeah.
about their near death that
Yeah.
transformed them in some way.
Yeah.
I met a guy at Mensa, it was the same sort of thing, because I told him I was an atheist. He said, oh, I used to be an atheist.
But
And I said, what do you mean you used to be? Well, I got hit by a tree. He said he was in the backyard during a thunderstorm.
Hey, mister, you ever hear of cause and effect?
He got hit by a tree, and he said that the tree was big enough to kill me, but he said he woke up from it, and that he had a headache, but he then looked at the tree, and the tree was so big, he said this could not possibly, I could not have possibly survived this, but I did.
this is a Mensa person.
This is a guy
See,
that
that's
has
just so sad.
An IQ of a gazillion.
5%
They're the top
IQ.
5. Yeah, aren't they the 5? Yeah, they're
5 or
the
2%.
yeah.
So, go ahead.
so brain damaged people believe in religion?
No, I think what he got hit by one of the branches.
Well, branch maybe
Not
got
by the
knocked
trunk of the
out.
tree.
Oh, right,
Temporarily
He
knocked
refused
out.
to take that explanation. He said, no, I got hit by the trunk of the tree. I said, no, you didn't. You would be dead.
Of
He said, "But
course."
exactly, that's my point. I'm not dead.
You see?
You see?
Don't you get it, Norm?
Yeah, so he fell into the same trap, Mensa or not. It's the same thing.
This is so sad. I mean, it's intelligence doesn't seem to work.
Plus, if you're going to be hit by the head, you're going to have some kind of hallucination or brain damage or something
Right.
right around the event. Your amnesia
Sure.
immediately following or before the event.
Right, yeah, you don't know what happened,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I saw a friend of mine got shot. He said he came up the staircase and a girl was sitting there with a shotgun,
Oh my God.
point blank, shoots. He says, at that instant, an angel deflected the shot and it just gouged my arm a little bit. Because she was right point
Blank.
and shot.
But shotgun is not as accurate, right?
Right. Well,
I guess it was
What do you do with
He
it?
was like
Do
3
we want to
steps
feel?
away.
Do we want to feel special? Is that what part of it is?
yeah, well, he called me from jail and said, yeah, it was angels.
Why was
What are
he
you doing in jail?
Why was he in jail?
There was a pre-story to this.
There
Oh.
must have been another, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, do we want to feel special that we've been singled out somehow?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems so mean-spirited, you know, like when a tornado, you know, like knocks down several people's houses, and then the family that it didn't knock down, they say God is good, you know. It was a miracle. I'm going, well, that's
What are the
really.
people next door gonna
Or,
say?
you know, we had such faith that God's, I'm going like, don't you feel bad about all those people
Yeah.
near you?
Oh,
Yeah.
they were bad.
They knocked
Yeah,
down their house?
you didn't have enough faith,
No,
you
you go
know.
talk, here's the sad thing, you go talk to the people after that whose houses did get knocked down, and they will say, God is good and gracious because we walked out of the house.
That's right, yeah. So you can't win, yeah. I mean, I saw people that were like trying to fix their homes after that horrible flood in New Orleans. You know, and some of the people that they were interviewing were saying, like, I couldn't make this through, you know, like fixing the house back up without Jesus.
Did he hold the timber while you nailed it? What the hell was he doing?
Okay, all right,
It's
you
below
know.
minimum
Well,
wage.
let's go back, take it back a step, take it back a step, you couldn't do this without, where was Jesus when the storm began?
Yeah, to warn me about it.
Well, we don't
Where
know.
was Jesus when the tornadoes started to come in?
We don't know God's purposes. See,
Yeah.
and you cannot win. That's why I refuse to argue with them, and I feel bad sometimes because
Well, that's what I'm saying.
there's so
Should-
many. Well,
should
so
we?
many atheists really put themselves out there and do it, you know. And yeah, and fight the good fight. But honestly, you know, if I can lecture, if I can research, if you know, people hear me on YouTube. I mean, we're approaching 10,000 now hits. You know, I think by September, it will either be August or September. We're really close.
Ready to take off.
Yeah, I mean, is it all atheists watching? I don't know. Some Christians like will object every so often, you know, rarely, but still. So am I doing something? I hope so, but please don't make, it's like water torture or something. Don't make me argue with Christians or any other, not just Christians, Muslims, Hindus.
Yeah.
I just can't stand it. It's just like, no, I've heard this all before.
The Hindus have a lot of miracle culture.
Oh, yeah.
They have a lot of that kind of crap.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, they just started explaining doctrine again. You know, and I know the doctrine better than you do, you know, and then they argue it.
Yeah.
I know I just got another argument with, and
Well, and when
I'm
they're
worrying about the whole
finally
thing.
done, if they're polite at all, and they don't want to tell you they're going to go to hell.
Okay, sorry. Jeff.
Careful there, Jimmy, okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Got it?
I was at a wedding and a gal says, I don't know how we even got here. But I'm saying, well, that, you know, truth is important to me. Like, there's things that are true.
Sure.
Objective reality.
Yeah, duh.
And she'd go, well, that all depends on what you believe.
See?
I'm going, no, it doesn't really. 2 + 2 is 4, even if you believe it's 5.
Yeah.
There's an objective reality out there. And then the subject came up with the Pope said that you don't have to be a Christian to make it to heaven. And I'm going, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. That particular one I looked into, and no, he didn't. People
Which
just
Pope?
write
This
that.
Pope?
This Pope
Yeah,
said,
okay.
What did he
you
say?
don't have to be a Christian to get into heaven.
This Pope is so tricky.
But he never said that.
What did
I-
he say? No, he said
Pe-
something.
Yeah, but it sure wasn't you don't have to be a Christian. And that's his whole, I mean, imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh, the Christian Catholic Church, don't worry about us. Go out
Well,
and
they do
your-
that. These popes, the PR departments put some of this stuff out, and then you know they start. But you know what? He has said enough things about like being like against adoption by gay couples and things. He has said some really bad things, and now
Well, sure.
I'm enjoying it thoroughly because he's attacking capitalism. And he says it's like what the dung of the devil or something, the system and everything. And his approval rating is going way down among conservatives. It's funny as hell. So I'm enjoying it because I'm just hoping he's going to come to the United States and talk about climate change, and everybody's going to like him again. I hope he says something, that'll show people like what a jerk he
Is
is.
he coming to Detroit?
Is he coming to Detroit? I doubt it. I don't know what his itinerary is.
So he's not a snake oil salesman. But I guess the conversation with this girl was about objective reality.
Yeah.
Is there something, whether either there is a God or there isn't, and it doesn't matter if you believe it or not,
Right.
he either exists or he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, well, there's objective realities, and I can't nail her down. I'm saying, look, either the Pope said that, or he didn't. Can
say
we
it.
agree to that? I mean, it could be one or the
And
other.
she said.
And she changed the subject.
Well, yeah, because
she
you know
changes
what?
it,
They
she
don't
says-
believe in objective reality. They believe that everything's a matter of opinion.
Feeling.
And it's not just religious people, it's like new wave people. It's a lot of people
Right.
now.
Yeah, like people.
She
I
wants to
can't-
know
It's
why the
just
truth is.
whatever, there isn't really any real truth.
She's saying, why is this so important to you? And I'm saying, because I take truth seriously.
Because they don't-
Truth is important to me. And she says, what makes you think you know any truth?
See?
And I said, well, because I'm an inventor and the things I invent
Our
work.
work.
In here, in the real world.
Yeah.
You don't just throw a lump of clay on the ground and surround it with a prayer group and have a product later.
You want to bet?
I have to know, unless you're selling clay. I mean, but this just doesn't, they never, so I understand your frustration, it just never hits home.
It just
It's
doesn't.
like, it's like grabbing it, it just squishes between your fingers and you're over your knife.
And a lot of the new waivers are like that also.
Anything.
Yeah.
A lot of the
This
new
is-
waivers are.
This is a modern problem.
Yeah.
When you do away with organized religion, you're still left with this woo-woo self of, well, realities, whatever I decided.
Yeah, and what you decide, and you have your reality, and I have my
It's no longer the
reality.
church telling you
Yeah.
what realities, it's like my
It's my own.
mind.
Now we've become very narcissistic.
Yeah, and a lot of the people I went to the camp with felt that way too, and so I didn't make any inroads in that direction.
Well, yeah, I don't think
They were
it's
anti-science.
possible. When you just reject the idea of objective reality, I mean, what argument are you going to make against
Well,
it?
if I could coin a phrase to describe it, I walked into it believing I was shooting fish in a barrel,
Yeah.
and I found out my gun was a squirt gun.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I mean,
Well,
you
you
can't.
shouldn't be killing
Right, you're
fish.
squirting
Yeah.
water with water, and you're not
Yeah.
hitting the fish, you're just...
Yeah.
That is
There's
true.
no water
But
gonna
see,
shoot fish in a barrel.
That is true.
You
There.
can't get anywhere.
No,
But
I go
Greg, I would
insane.
just say, don't give up the goal of trying to convince them. Share your point of view, but give up the idea that we have to win in
Which
Well, I don't feel I have to
point I just
win,
said.
it's just that
I
I
said-
go nuts when I hear that irrationality.
Well,
It's
but-
like talking to a crazy
It's
person.
a study in anthropology. At that point, you're studying, well, why does this person believe what they do? How did they get to this point?
You hit it right on the head.
Just study them.
For all my life, I've wondered, why do people believe what they believe? And still to this day, it's fascinating to me.
And just by talking to
You
them,
said
you
it
might
just
learn.
right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, I
How
must
did
be
you
a
get
closed off person because they drive me nuts. I
So
mean,
they
it's
want magic. They want a sense of magic
Sure.
and wonder.
sure.
And they know that science does not have all the answers, right?
Yeah.
The movie we
very
watched
imperfect.
on Darwin, last week, it was it was really showing that. It was the scholars who were writing about Darwin, and then it was the religious people, and so many of them that part of their argument against Darwin was that they couldn't live without thinking that there was a greater power in another world. So what they're saying basically is, I don't care if it's true or not. I don't care if it's true or not, because I couldn't live without it.
Without a story, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. People hit
Yeah.
bottom, and
Yeah.
they're thinking should to be or not to be.
Yeah.
And then finally this illusory spark pops in their head, and
Yeah.
that's their reason. So when you argue with them, they get very emotional very quick,
Yeah.
and you need to just let them have it, because
Yeah.
you're really threatening not just their belief, but their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's beyond dickish,
Yeah.
if I can use a atheist
Well,
term.
yeah, I had an odd experience that, with, again, someone, a dental person, and not the dentist, but, the lady was talking about a fire that had taken place at their
Oh, my
family
gosh.
cottage. And, a relative that they had invited for years and had just never been able to make it showed up that year. And he had gone outside at night, he woke up and he was outside and he smelled smoke and roused everybody. So obviously there was a reason why he had shown up that year when he hadn't all those other years, and it was to save everybody. And she really wasn't attributing it to a god or anything like that. It was like that universal thing. And I said, I was like untactful enough to say, as usual, I always do that, well, it sounds like a coincidence. And she really, it took her about, I think, 3 or 4 visits to get over that. I mean, she really had an aversion to me, I could tell it.
Yeah.
She was so angry, that I had like ruined this
Yeah.
story.
You were serving her a dose of reality that could never be as good as her story.
Yeah, the story was better,
The story had to be better. So that's what we're competing with, is that
Yeah.
it's not just that science is wonderful and the fact that we're alive is wonderful. These stories that they hold on to are more wonderful than what we could provide with any
Yeah.
of our own rational explanation.
Yeah.
Not
I don't
part
Could
of
be
my way of
more
thinking,
wonderful
but-
than metabolism in a cell.
Yeah, but see, they don't see it that way
But that
because then they have to
individual
think
story.
about and they have to learn about the metabolism. This is some
Yeah,
fairy story.
this
Like,
is a fairy story.
There's another thing that throws them off, and that is, for me, the definition of extremism. It happens when you put a bunch of people in a room together that just continue to agree with each other.
oh yeah, then it gets like,
And every
yeah,
time you agree, you get a little further from the truth.
Yeah.
And,
yeah,
and the minute someone steps into that world where the universe meant to do it, and everybody's all happy and
yeah,
loving, and,
yeah.
and you say out loud something contrary to that, you're
They-
gonna get this awkward, like, holy cow, I just haven't heard that in 4 years, because I've gone through life, it kind of reminds me how deers, there's a no shooting zone when you go deer hunting, and the deer always know where that's at.
Yeah, and
No,
they're there.
you took a shot, they ran from the noise, you took a shot, they ran from, and sooner or later they're in a quiet forest and they don't run from the noise.
Right, and they're
And
having
so-
a good time, and
Yeah.
you're firing a
And so
shot,
and you're going, no, they're
upsetting
smart,
the
they
shit
knew where
out of
that
them.
was.
Yeah.
No, they didn't know where that was. You just shot till they landed there.
Yeah.
And so here these folks are just sitting in a room listening to happy harmony.
they're feeling happy.
And it's an act of aggression for anybody to disagree.
Well, they do see it that, but you
Yeah.
know what? I mean, it's not just that. Sometimes if you try, even in the secular groups, to inject some kind of reason, they'll turn on you too. You've
Yeah.
seen that, Nora.
Yeah, we have problems, with conspiracy theorists,
Yeah.
alternative medicine quacks.
Oh my gosh!
What else?
It drives them crazy.
Maybe even things like ESP,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hello, you people are supposed to be
They
skeptics.
believe in- Yeah, and they don't carry it through. Even stopping believing in God is not enough. And that's why I've started calling myself, materialist.
Yeah,
If I just say atheist,
yeah,
I have not excluded those who also say they're an atheist, but they believe in conspiracy theories and all these others.
Oh, they don't believe in God, but they do believe in magic.
They believe
They'll-
in magic,
they believe
miracle
in, they
cures,
believe in like miracle cure, these alternative
mind over
medical
matter and all
things.
this. And so I say I'm a materialist. I'm a
I
rational
faint
materialist.
when I hear that stuff. When I hear, well, I told
Irrational
you, when I hear
materialist.
that alternative,
Yeah.
when I hear that
God
alternative
is-
medicine, I go insane. That's worse to me than religion, in a way. I mean, I just
Right.
can't stand it.
Yeah, but mainstream medicine has a series of problems.
They do, and I'm
Some of
aware of
those
those, but
are
that doesn't
not.
mean that I'm gonna run to
Yeah.
something that's worse
Right. No,
and doesn't work at all.
it doesn't work at all.
Well, it all depends on what you believe.
But if you believe it,
Yeah,
it'll
but if
work.
you believe in it, it'll work.
Placebo.
Well, actually, they have run some tests and they've given people placebos and they've told them that they're placebos. And they take them and they feel better.
Yeah.
That works with me and that decaf coffee.
Really?
It's not even a blind experiment. I just know I'm drinking decaf. Wakes me up just
Is that
fine.
right? Well, because it tastes like coffee.
It's like I know it's not real.
Yeah, but I think we also know that it's irrational. We don't really believe it.
Yeah, I don't really believe it either, but
Okay. Well, thank
Very
you,
well
Mary.
done.
Thank
Very
you,
much.
guys. It was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it.
A lot of ideas tonight.
Yeah.
A lot of
Bring
good
some
ideas.
bones next month.
Yeah, I'm bringing
I
some
didn't
bones.
see any props.
I'll try to get that book when I give that talk. I'll try.